the future.
Just flowers?
Just flowers, yeah. Chocolate, flowers.
Raising the ante here. I wanted to take that.
Representative Kent Sorenson is my friend. He's friends with Scott and I. He and Shawnee, they're great people.
I wondered who that was.
That wasn't in the intro. Representative Kent Sorenson was elected in 2008 to serve at the Iowa State House representing the people in District 74. His reason for running for office in the first place was quite simple. The hardworking people in his district were not being heard or represented. This lack of true leadership resulted in higher taxes, more bureaucracy on small businesses, and ever-intrusive and out-of-balance state government. So he knocked on every door in his district and he heard from person after person their concerns with the lack of representation. People fed up with government officials taking their hard-earned money without any checks and balances, the lack of responsible spending with their tax dollars, and the lack of accountability. Kent's common sense and experience as a small business owner made him able to relate to the people in his district. As a business owner, he knows their families. He brought this same common sense decision-making ability to the Capitol. Sorry, my reading skills apparently went dead today. Representative Kent Sorenson announced on September 22nd, 2009 that he would run for Senate against Senator Stacey Apple. His reason for running this Senate seat is simple, and it's the same. The hardworking people in his district are still not being heard or represented. They're concerned that they're paying too many taxes and fees, that the state budget is out of control, that government officials seem to be ignoring what the people are saying, and the Constitution's being trampled on. Kent is a follower. No, he's not. Kent is not a follower. I'm so sorry, Susan. I'm really sorry. She stayed up so late writing this intro, and I'm just butchering it. That's right. Turn me off. That's good. It's okay. Steve does it all the time. Kent is not a follower, but a leader. He's a Christian conservative first and a Republican second. He'll put the same effort and passion into making our state a better place to grow a business and a family. Kent and his wife, Shawnee, have been married for 20 years. They got married when they were 5. They've been married for 20 years and live in Indianola with their 6 children. Both Kent and Shawnee have a passion to improve life for not only their own family, but the lives of all Iowans. It's my pleasure to present my friend, Kent Sorenson.
Yay!
Okay. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. I don't know if everybody here knows my story, so I'll give you it usually takes about 30 minutes to explain the whole thing, so I'll condense it down to just a few minutes. But why I decided to get involved in politics. I was just a small business owner that was fed up with the way things were going in our state. And I would complain to my wife all the time, and that was about the extent of it. And she said, we should really go out and caucus. We've always complained and never went to the presidential caucuses. So we decided early on we would go to our first ever presidential caucus in 2008. We did that. We went out and caucused for an individual, and he actually won the state of Iowa. And I thought that was really cool to watch all these people come from all over our community to do that. And I thought, this is great. I left feeling like I'd done my civic duty. And a few weeks later, my wife was talking me into, in fact, let me introduce my wife. She's in back while I'm talking about her. Shawnee Grace. That's my beautiful wife, Shawnee. We've been married 20 years. We have 6 wonderful kids together, and they're all great looking because they look like her, and they have hair. So she convinced me to go into the Capitol for this rally, and I'd been to the Capitol as an adult. So she, after much persistence, when she's not with me, sometimes I say nag, but she's with me tonight, so I'll say persistence. After much persistence, she convinced me to go. So I went to the Capitol for the first time, and I caught myself yelling at this gold dome that Mike Gronsall should let us vote on the marriage amendment. And I left there after about 45 minutes, and I had to go back to work. I thought that was going to be it. And she continually pressed me to go to the Capitol and lobby my representatives, and and stand up for our values that we hold dear and that for too long I took for granted in the state. And one thing led to another, and on March 4th I went to the Capitol and watched as my representative and my senator just decided to ignore us as constituents. We took 10 people with us, and we decided to call out our senator first. And I spoke to her, and I said, Stacy, are you going to let us vote on the marriage amendment? She got red in the face. She got instantly her neck started turning red. I'm sure if you see somebody that's uncomfortable and that happens, you know what I'm talking about. And she said, well, I'm going to, right now it's in the court's hands, and I'm just going to follow the courts. And I said, oh, so you're going to follow your husband and his 6 cohorts instead of letting the people of Iowa have the opportunity to vote. Right. Yeah. And she says, well, my leadership, doesn't want to handle this right now. And so I'm going to follow leadership on this. And I said, so you're going to be a follower and we elected you to lead? And the conversation persisted, and I asked a few other tough questions, and she got mad and walked away after just 5 minutes. And when you have 10 constituents standing there, and your senator walks away after 5 minutes, I can't tell you the feeling that you have and the frustration. So I thought, well, surely the guy next door in the house will talk to us and pay attention to us. I mean, I knew him. He took my picture when I was playing football, and he worked for the paper. I thought he was a great guy. I was very naive still at that point in time. So we went next door, called him out. We waited 2.5 hours, and he never came out and spoke to us. At one point in time, he walked out, and he saw us. He knew we were there, and he never came out and spoke to us because we wrote on the card what we were there to talk to him about. A couple days go by, I go back to the Capitol. They do the vote on marriage. I watch as my representative votes no. I was very frustrated. So I rushed down. I saw him coming out of the back of the front of the chamber. Saw him coming out to get a cup of coffee. So I rushed down and spent about 30 minutes with him, asked him question after question after question, and he refused to answer. He wanted to dance around the issues. And at one point in time, he says, why don't you come in and have a seat in my chair? So I walk in, and I sit down. I thought, this is pretty comfortable. And I'm thinking, this guy's not listening to me. So I go home, and I tell my wife, I said, we have to find out who's running against this turkey, and we have got to get involved. And we have to help him. Well, I didn't even know he was up. I was still that naive. And so we found out that he was up that year, and no one was running against him. So we started making phone calls and asking people to get involved, and no one would. No one else would step forward. See, 2 years prior, a Republican stepped forward, and they spent $250,000 to try and win that seat, and they lost. And so no one would step forward. So I told my wife at one point in time, I said, I need to do this. And she looked at me and laughed and said, no, you don't. and I said, But you wanted me to get more involved. She goes, not that involved. So I said, okay, I'll wait. I said, Lord, I did my part. You called me. I answered, but I said, you have to speak to my wife because we have got to be in agreement on this because I'm not going to have disunity in my house. So a few days go by. It's the day of the deadline, or the day before, and she says, let's do this. And I said, okay. So we called, and we got the party to come down and help us collect signatures. I thought they were going to be this great help. And I found out quickly that's all going to change. So they came down, got the signatures. I became a candidate for the Iowa House. And I decided I was going to run against Mark Davitt. And we worked hard. We worked very hard. And the whole time, there's all, when you're in politics, there's different categories that they rate you. And I was a second tier candidate. They'll classify Chad as a second-tier candidate, too. That's not discouraging. That's just how they'll classify him because he's running against an incumbent, just like I was.